Homelessness in Palm Springs is getting worse, and something needs to be done about it. That's the thought most people have when they're thinking about homelessness in their city. I felt the same way until I got involved myself and I saw the resources and the hardworking people working to solve this problem on the ground. Now when I pass by a homeless person, my thoughts have changed from, boy, something needs to be done, to what more can I do to help those who are already doing such good work to resolve these problems. Today I want to introduce you to Greg Rodriguez. Greg is the Government Affairs and Public Policy Advisor to the County Supervisor. In other words, he's in charge of housing, homelessness, and healthcare policy for Palm Springs and the surrounding Coachella Valley. Greg has dedicated his life to this issue, and through him, we're going to learn the cold, hard facts, what these organizations and agencies are doing about the issue, their many successes, what still needs to be done, and finally, what you can do to help. By looking at this microcosm of the national homeless epidemic, the many small individual efforts around the country can turn into a nationwide change. In order to figure out what we need to do, we need to know where we stand. There are many different causes of homelessness, and they all overlap, and they all require different services.
No one case is the same, and you can have somebody that can just span the whole continuum.
Right.
But again, for a lot of the individuals that are, say, sleeping in their cars or couch surfing, most of them it is a financial situation or a health situation, not a major health situation. And then again, you go up that continuum of care, are most challenging. And I think the people that the community sees the most, the ones on the street, talking to themselves and all those are the ones that have, the comorbidity where it's just severe mental health issues. Some don't have substance use, but a vast majority do.
But unfortunately, there are certain demographics that have no services dedicated to them. In a sense, they're left behind.
So that is the toughest demographic, because we have amazing programs, primarily at the county level, for families and youth. Although we could expand our single youth programs much better, but and we're working on that. And then we have great programs for those that are over 65. But it's those in the middle, that are hard to house. Many have chronic medical problems, obviously chronic mental health problems. Most that are addicted to substances are doing so because they're self-medicating because of medical or behavioral health problems. But that's the segment of the population that's really difficult.
So that's one of your biggest challenges.
It is the biggest challenge.
I asked Greg what challenges people like himself face in trying to address these issues. The same things popped up again and again: lack of resources, lack of affordable housing, and regulations.
For the larger ticket items, like more mental health facilities, additional homeless provided campuses, that we're looking at, and we can talk about the one we're looking at in Palm Springs. And that's the real challenge, is the amount of financing mechanisms that it takes to build affordable housing. Certain regulations, some of those are getting better. There are moves at the state level through HCD, Housing and Community Development Department, to streamline processes.
What regulations get in the way?
Primarily it's CEQA, the California Environment Quality Act, and luckily there's been legislation in the last couple of years that's kind of eliminated those barriers. Pretty much any development you do, whether it's affordable housing or anything, commercial, all that, you have to go through an Environmental Quality Act, which is environmental review and all that. So many developments are stopped because of, or delayed because of lawsuits, the cost to go through that litigation. But you'll get into other state regulations like prevailing wage. That if you're using any kind of government money or funding for a project, you have to pay prevailing wage. Now, I'm all for a living wage too. When we used to have what were called redevelopment agencies, or RDAs, that was money that localities, counties, cities could use for pre-development costs to assist builders. So when those went away, that's really when the delay in affordable housing started. So that's the biggest one, is that lack of resources that we used to have the RDA.
So that's the situation right now, which can seem a bit overwhelming. But thanks to better data and research, people like Greg now know exactly what they need to do to have a meaningful impact.
We need more like residential treatment facilities. The county needs a new mental health hospital, which we're underway on researching how we're going to fund that. We have an amazing director of our behavioral health who knows how to get money like no one else, but also has a real vision. He always talks about right time, right care, and right place, and that's exactly what it is we need to access that individual at the right time. We need to have the right care, which we do have a really good, as I said, continuum of care, but we don't have the right places, and that's the challenge.
Greg's eyes really lit up when we discussed the initiatives happening in the community right now.
Primarily, and Palm Springs is a very good example of this, and then actually throughout the county we're employing a lot more of, we call them CBAT teams, and they're county behavioral access teams basically, that work alongside law enforcement. And we basically embed those, because most police agencies now have their own kind of homeless outreach officers. And so we partner with them in behavioral health, and businesses or community leaders know to contact those teams, and so then they go out, especially for those that have the behavioral health acuities. For youth example, we have what's called Safe House of the Desert that provides an element of emergency shelter, but also some longer term strategies and programming for youth. For our veterans, Riverside County was the first county in the nation a few years back to go to basically what we call functionally zero veterans homelessness. Now that doesn't mean we still don't have veterans, but the numbers are so low. Project Room Key, as I mentioned before, that was specifically for individuals 65 and over or pregnant women. And so through that program, we really learned a lot about the senior population and the challenges that they have. And Riverside County, excuse me, is a leader in this field as far as behavioral health treatment, substance use treatment. We're utilizing more peer-to-peer type programming. We are actually working to expand facilities. So like the old Roy's that was the shelter, is now an augmented board and care facility. So it's basically kind of a step down from a hospitalization in our mental health facility in Riverside.
Greg and his team have had a great deal of success over the last few years, and that's due mostly to a shift toward a housing-first approach.
But with Housing First, the idea is we'll take somebody with, basically no barriers. You can literally be drunk or high, and we'll put you in a unit. Now, you can't use drugs and stuff in the unit, but it's been statistically proven and shown that this model is good because you're giving somebody a stable environment, and then you work on the case management side and dealing with the substance use issues. But you're seeing success rates of 60-65% on a Housing First model.
That 65% success rate is up from just 10 to 15% in a traditional shelter model. And that has made so much more possible, including Acadia, a shelter with a capacity of 80 people opening next year, in addition to a huge expansion in affordable housing.
The three projects that are coming, one of course is the expansion of the DAP Health Campus. The other is the Monarch Apartments in North Palm Springs, and those will be family units primarily. And then the ALLO, they're calling it now.
But none of this housing, these services, or these programs would be possible without resources. In other words, money.
One really good thing that has happened, especially within the last 3 years, is the governor's focus on funding homeless programs, and a lot of that expresses mental health treatment as well and substance use treatment. The resources that have been available have primarily only been for services, very little if none for capital. So in order to build something, you've got to have capital resources. So that we do have now, which is good.
These resources, along with much improved data, is allowing for unprecedented collaboration among a variety of agencies that now can work together to overcome these issues.
The collaborative work I talked about is much better. I mean, not only the county bureaucracy has gotten so much better, but the work that the providers in the valley and the county are doing together. People used to be siloed, and there used to be, my place is better than yours, or my programs are better than yours. We're realizing and have realized that no, each one of us does something really well, or a few things really well. So let's really focus the capital development, capacity development in those organizations on what they do well, and then let's utilize or use the other organizations in the other aspects. What we've tried to do is not create a bureaucracy, is how can we function within the current agencies we have so that we can allocate and utilize the resources that we will get either if we did a bond or if we did a tax measure or the funding that's coming from the state. How do we get that into direct services?
Every bit of this work to collaborate, to streamline, to manage funds has all come together in conjunction with this more holistic housing-first approach to lead to one of the most exciting things to happen for homelessness in Palm Springs in decades, a navigation center.
So the idea behind a navigation campus, and ones that have been highly successful in different jurisdictions throughout the country, have an element of shelter beds so that you have at least some bed you can get somebody off the street. And then you have, and then on that site though, is you've got full wraparound services. So you have behavioral health services on site, ideally a medical clinic on site, commercial grade dining room, and then access to Department of Social Services services. So that'd be Medi-Cal, CalFresh. Again, being able to have everything on site that you can link individuals up to all the services that are available to them that at least can get them some little sort of income and also address some of the other underlying issues.
Look, clearly we have a long way to go, but people should understand that we've come incredibly far. And people like Greg are doing terrific work that is helping us make giant steps forward in overcoming the issue of homelessness.
Because it is very important for people like me and for county and for city leaders and just our employees within departments, for the public to know that we're not ignoring this. We realize the issues. I'm a resident here. I want to enjoy my city, but again, I also feel we have a moral imperative. There are hundreds of people throughout the county in both government, and that's county and city, all cities, as well as our nonprofits that are working daily on this, and we treat it very seriously. And I want people to know that it is being successful. We are housing people. Do we have a long way to go? Yeah. I do think though we can get at a better place with proper mental health facilities, with proper navigation centers or navigation campuses, that you will see less of an impact on the street. I also believe that as we do build up more affordable housing, we can eliminate a lot of people from falling into homelessness. I also believe that movements through our county and other counties throughout the state on really addressing holistic care of an individual, especially from childhood on.
Now, this is the really important part. How do we, the citizens, fit into this puzzle? What can we do to help those on the ground? And the best way is to offer your support for these projects.
Support affordable housing developments when they come before the city. Most people, have the old concept of, the projects, and that's not what affordable housing is today at all. There are numerous affordable housing units in the city of Palm Springs, and most people wouldn't even know where they are.
I think Greg said it best when he spoke about our moral imperative, which starts with recognizing what's already being done and what more we can do to help moving forward. So join a local advocacy group like the CPOH in Palm Springs and hold your county officials accountable so people like Greg have the resources that they need to get the job done. Tremendous things are happening. Let's help them do more.